In the turbulent history of Formula One, there have been legends hailed as gods of speed, titans standing at the very pinnacle that billions crave, possessing massive fortunes and blinding glory. But then, abruptly, they vanish from their thrones without a trace. The world has witnessed shocking paradoxes, a world champion daring to walk away from the fastest car on the planet the very moment he touched the summit, all in exchange for peace. 1. Formerly Ferrari's wildest driver, is now content with the quiet life of a buffalo farmer in the English countryside. Just as a four-time king of the world chose to seek salvation among beehives and insect hotels rather than chasing prestigious silver trophies. Why were they willing to trade an entire kingdom for anonymity? Was it an escape from brutal pressure? Or does that retreat hide dark, exhausting secrets that the flashbulbs never illuminated? Let's step into the silence of these legends to find the answer. Michael Schumacher, the king imprisoned by a tragic accident. In the brilliant world of Formula One, where the sound of V12 engines once tore through space and media flashlights never turned off, there is a silence lasting more than a decade. That silence is named Michael Schumacher. For speed fans, Schumacher wasn't just a driver, he was the symbol of absolute dominance, a Kaiser with cold, sharp eyes and an iron will that brought Ferrari back to the peak of glory. But since a fateful day in late December 2013 on the Alps, the man who conquered the world's most dangerous corners at 200 miles performed the most mysterious and painful disappearing act in sports history. He didn't disappear because he was washed up, nor because he wanted to hide from fans. He disappeared behind a steel wall erected by family love in absolute protection at the fortress by Lake Geneva. Schumacher's disappearance is a cruel paradox of fate. A man who spent his life challenging death on fiery racetracks finally fell on a peaceful snowy mountain slope during a family vacation. The skiing accident at Maribel turned Michael from an invincible Superman into a man needing 24/7 special medical care. From that moment, his appearance, voice, and true condition became national secrets of the kingdom named Schumacher. His wife, Corinna Schumacher, established a strictly extreme security regime. The massive villa in Gland, Switzerland, overlooking picturesque Lake Geneva, turned into a top-notch private hospital, but also an impregnable fortress. Why did a global icon have to hide so thoroughly? The answer lies in the philosophy Michael always kept throughout his career. Private is private. Corinna, the steel woman behind the legend, vowed to protect her husband's legacy by not letting any image of Michael in a weak condition leak out. She understood the world wanted to remember Michael with the bright red helmet, with the fist punching the air on the podium. Not a man on a sickbed, this disappearance, therefore, is an act of ultimate dignity protection. For over 10 years, only a very small group of extremely close friends like Jean Todt were allowed to step through that fortress door, and they all kept the vow of silence, leaving the world only vague sentences: "He is still there, but different." Schumacher's seclusion created a vast void in the heart of F1. People still see his son, Mick Schumacher, continuing his father's path. But the shadow of that great father only exists through symbols and memories. The villa by Lake Geneva is not just a place of treatment, it is a place keeping core family values. There were rumors about the family moving Michael to Mallorca to enjoy sunshine. But wherever, the security wall never showed a crack. This disappearance is cruel as it doesn't give fans an official farewell, but it is noble as it proves the power of kinship. Corinna faced countless pressures, from paparazzi trying to use drones to spy, to traitorous old friends trying to sell information. However, she stood firm, turning herself into a living shield for her husband. Schumacher's disappearance also carries a philosophical meaning about fame. It reminds us that behind dry statistics of 7 championships and 91 victories is a flesh and blood human with hidden pains. The F1 world today has changed, with new stars like Max Verstappen or Lewis Hamilton. But the name Schumacher is still mentioned with respect mixed with awe. He is present in every record, in every debate about who is the greatest, but he himself became faceless. His hiding makes the legend of Michael Schumacher immortal. In a strange way, he doesn't age in the public eye. He never says goodbye. He simply dissolves into the silence of Lake Geneva. Looking at this disappearance act, one sees a powerful message about choice. In an era where everything is exposed on social media, where privacy is a luxury item, the Schumacher family chose to go against that flow. They chose silence over million-dollar exclusive interviews. They chose discreet pain over public pity. Where is Michael Schumacher hiding? He is in the arms of those who love him most, in a small world where speed no longer matters. Only rhythm of breath and presence remain. That is his final victory over the world's scrutiny to be himself in the most difficult moments. The Kaiser no longer reigns on the track, but he reigns in the fortress of love, where truth is protected by the hearts of those who stay. Kimi Räikkönen, rejecting million-dollar contracts to be a nameless mechanic. Throughout 2 decades of fighting in F1, Kimi Räikkönen was always an alien entity to this sport's massive media machine. Nicknamed Iceman, the Finnish driver was famous not only for innate speed, but also for an indifferent attitude to the point of weirdness towards fame. He was the one who could nap in the cockpit just minutes before the first race of his life, the one who bluntly kicked reporters out while eating ice cream, and the one who uttered the classic radio line, "Leave me alone, I know what I'm doing." Therefore, when Kimi officially retired at the end of 2021, aficionados were not surprised to see him perform a true disappearing act, quick, decisive, and absolutely without tearful tributes on social media. If Michael Schumacher disappeared into a gated fortress due to tragedy, Kimi Räikkönen disappeared simply because he found what he always yearned for throughout his career, peace, to be a normal person. For Kimi, F1 was never a lifestyle or a fame paradise. It was just a driving job. He did extremely well to earn money to feed himself and his family. When that job ended, the helmet hung up, Kimi immediately shed the mask of a global superstar to return to his true self in the Bar region, Switzerland, where he is currently enjoying the life of a full-time diaper dad. Kimi's hiding bears the color of freedom. Instead of appearing at red carpet events or joining team management boards like many colleagues, Kimi chose to disappear into his garage. Rare images fans can see of him now are not on luxury yachts in Monaco, but scenes of him tinkering with motorcycles, gardening, or driving trucks full of gear for family camping trips. There is an interesting contrast witnessing a world champion who once received a salary of tens of millions of dollars, now feeling happiest when personally changing oil for a motocross bike or grilling meat for his wife and kids in the backyard. For Kimi, F1 aura was like a coat too tight and hot he just waited to take off. But what makes Kimi's disappearance most meaningful is his new role, a devoted father. If, in the past, Kimi could disappear into all-night parties or boat races in a gorilla suit to evade media, now he disappears into the world of his 2 children, Robin and Rihanna. Kimi doesn't just raise children, he accompanies them. He became a personal mechanic, teacher, and shuttle driver for his son Robin on karting tracks in Italy and Switzerland. Seeing the image of a once taciturn Kimi Räikkönen, now patiently standing on the trackside watching his son, or gently tying shoelaces for his daughter, one understands that disappearing from F1 was how he reclaimed emotional pieces the top-tier career took away from him. Kimi's seclusion is also a strong statement about the value of privacy in the digital age. While young drivers today consider social media a tool to build personal brands, Kimi keeps the "have it or not, doesn't matter" style. His personal page rarely posts a photo, usually family photos or simple hobbies, without any polish from media teams. He doesn't need public acknowledgement, doesn't need likes to feel valuable. Kimi hides proudly, doesn't need to conceal, but doesn't invite anyone to watch either. He disappeared from the public eye, but appeared fully in the lives of his loved ones. Many wonder if the Iceman ever misses the track. The answer is probably no. For Kimi, F1 is a chapter closed perfectly. He won with Ferrari, became a legend, and most importantly, ended his career without letting himself be corrupted by the falseness of sports entertainment. Kimi Räikkönen's disappearance is proof that an icon can live happily becoming a nameless person. He is hiding in the simplicity of the Swiss countryside, in children's laughter, and in the smell of garage grease. It is not a disappearance out of fear or tragedy, but a disappearance of someone who achieved the highest realm of freedom, living true to his nature, shunning all noise to see that. After all, 200 unmeasured speed cannot compare to the peace of a family home. Sebastian Vettel, from track ruler to eccentric old farmer. For fans of the world's top speed sport, the name Sebastian Vettel was once the embodiment of ultimate pride and ambition. People remember him as Red Bull's golden boy, who dominated the world with 4 consecutive championships with surprising ruthlessness and precision. Back then, Vettel was a true winning machine, someone ready to challenge both teammates and rules to touch the trophy. But then, as time passed, the world witnessed the strangest transformation ever in a top athlete. Sebastian Vettel didn't just retire, he performed a soul migration from racetracks reeking of gasoline and exhaust to hide in organic flower fields and quiet nature conservation projects. Vettel's disappearance didn't happen suddenly after an accident or a shocking announcement. It was a gradual withdrawal calculated carefully by a sharp intellect. In the final years of his career at Aston Martin, people began seeing a very different Vettel, a driver no longer too concerned about ranking position, but instead a man wearing a t-shirt printed with ocean protection messages, someone picking up trash on Silverstone stands after the race, and someone building insect hotels with children. When the final race in Abu Dhabi 2022 ended, Vettel stepped out of the cockpit, smiled, and truly dissolved into a life where the fame of an F1 superstar was completely meaningless before the values of the land. Where is Sebastian Vettel hiding now? The answer lies in the quiet Swiss countryside, where he owns an old-style family farm. But don't mistake this for a millionaire's luxury resort. It is a real farm, where Vettel is living the life of an intellectual old farmer. He spends hours studying biofarming, learning to cultivate without chemicals and regenerate soil ecosystems. Vettel's disappearance bears the color of salvation. He once shared his torment as an environment lover, but earning a living by driving machines, consuming fossil fuels, and flying around the world on private jets. Hiding in agriculture is how he atones to this planet, how he finds harmony between faith and action. Unlike colleagues who often keep ties with the racing world through ambassador roles, Vettel almost cut off completely from the spotlight. He has no flashy PR team, and the only Instagram page he set up, something he vowed never to do throughout his career, is used only as a platform to spread messages about climate change rather than showing off personal life. This disappearance is a brave act. Vettel accepted giving up the star status to become a normal worker in the eyes of neighbors. At his farm, he isn't a world champion, he is a beekeeper, someone worrying about crops, and a father wanting to teach his children how to plant a tree instead of how to drive a race car. Vettel's seclusion also carries a strong message about letting go. In a sport where ego is always placed first, Vettel chose to lower that ego under the tree canopy. He once said, "The world will soon forget me," and that's good. That sentence reflects a rare free mindset. He doesn't need people to remember his records. He only wants what he does now to have real value for the future. His disappearance is an affirmation that the aura of the F1 crown, however magnificent, cannot compare to the feeling of touching Mother Earth and seeing life multiply. Looking at Vettel's current life, one sees a beautiful contrast. Someone who once lived in the deafening noise of engines now chooses to listen to bees buzzing and wind blowing through fields. Someone who once fought for every millisecond on the track now learns to patiently wait for a seed to sprout after months. Sebastian Vettel didn't just disappear from F1, he killed a part of his ambitious ego to be reborn as a man of nature. His hiding isn't running away from society, but running away from vanity to find the true nature of existence. When we ask, where is Vettel? We aren't looking for a geographical location on a map. We are looking for a state of soul. He is in a green world, where there is no starting line or finish line, only cycles of seasons and the peace of someone who found the ultimate purpose of his life. Sebastian Vettel's disappearance, therefore, is the most inspiring disappearance. It shows that after leaving the peak of fame, one can absolutely find another peak, quieter but more sustainable, in the simplest things of life. Jody Scheckter, Ferrari champion, ditches Silver Cup to milk buffaloes. In the annals of Formula One, the name Jody Scheckter is associated with a time full of dangers and cruelty. The 1970s was an era when drivers stepped into the cockpit with the mindset of true gladiators, where death always lurked after every corner. Scheckter, the young man from South Africa, was once considered a madman on the track with an aggressive driving style, regardless of consequences. But that madman calmed down to step onto the peak of glory, bringing home the 1979 World Championship for Ferrari, a title the Italian team took 21 years to repeat, thanks to Michael Schumacher. However, right when standing on the peak of power and fame, Scheckter made a shocking decision, retiring at 30 and almost wiping out traces of an F1 star to start a completely new life. Jody Scheckter's disappearance is unlike anyone else. He didn't choose to live on Old Glory as a commentator or brand ambassador. Instead, he disappeared into a remote countryside in Hampshire, UK, here, on a vast land named Laverstoke Park Farm. The Ferrari champion of yesterday shed the colorful racing suit to put on a true farmer's protective jacket. His disappearance was a radical break. For decades, he rarely appeared at racetracks, refused interview requests about the glorious past, just to focus on a single goal: producing the world's best mozzarella cheese from buffalo milk. Where is Jody Scheckter hiding now? He is amidst herds of water buffaloes and lush green grass fields cultivated by biological methods. For Scheckter, agriculture isn't a millionaire's late afternoon hobby, but a race where opponents aren't other drivers, but soil degradation and poor quality food. He spent over 30 years studying microorganisms in soil. The balance of nature with an obsession and meticulousness, exactly like how he once studied every technical detail on the Ferrari race car. This disappearance has the nature of killing the old identity to reborn a new person, Farmer Scheckter. At Laverstoke Park Farm, one won't see any championship trophies displayed in the living room. Scheckter even once put his priceless memorabilia in the warehouse because he didn't want his current life influenced by past glories. He wants associates and customers to view him through the quality of cheese boxes, organic wine bottles, or clean meat products, not through the title F1 champion. This seclusion reflects an extremely strong personality. Scheckter doesn't need crowd praise to feel he exists. He finds self-value in creating sustainable values for human health and the ecosystem. Jody Scheckter's disappearance is an affirmation that life always has brilliant second chapters if one dares to let go of the first chapter's ego. While many contemporaries still struggle to keep a bit of influence in the speed world, Scheckter became a king in a completely different kingdom. He proved that hands once controlling the steering wheel at wind-tearing speed can absolutely become skillful and patient when caring for the land. His hiding is a choice of freedom from fans' expectations, and freedom from obsessions of a past full of blood and tears on the track. Looking at Scheckter's life over 70, one sees a strange contentment. He doesn't need media attention, but his farm became a destination for gourmets and environmentalists worldwide. Scheckter disappeared from sports pages to appear in sustainable agriculture and cuisine magazines. He hid so well that a generation of young F1 fans might not know who he is. But they know the reputation of Laverstoke Park Farm. That is the most successful disappearance, when you can completely erase a massive past to build a new empire from your own working hands. Jody Scheckter exhausted himself for Ferrari to win the crown, and now he milks buffaloes to find peace. His disappearance doesn't bear the mysterious color of Schumacher or the quietness of Vettel, but bears the color of a practical and ambitious adventure. He is hiding in the scent of fresh grass and newly made cheese, shunning engine roars to listen to nature's rhythm. Jody Scheckter's disappearance reminds us that true victory isn't finishing first, but finding a new destination that makes your heart flutter even when the aura has long faded. Nico Rosberg, abandoning the throne, 5 days after coronation. In Formula One history, few moments shocked the world more than December 2, 2016, just 5 days after overcoming his fateful teammate Lewis Hamilton to step onto the World Championship peak in Abu Dhabi. Nico Rosberg stood before media lenses in Vienna and announced, "I will stop." Then, Nico was just 31 at peak form, holding the fastest car on the planet, in a sport where drivers usually hold on until the last breath. Rosberg's action was like a jackpot winner immediately throwing the ticket into the fire. He performed a disappearance from the cockpit right at the explosion point of glory. leaving an astonishing void and thousands of unanswered questions. Nico Rosberg's disappearance didn't bear sad colors like Schumacher or wandering like Vettel. It was a tactical withdrawal of a perfectionist throughout his career. Nico didn't possess wild, innate talent like Hamilton. He conquered the world with steel discipline, dry data analysis, and a terrible psychological effort to the extreme. To beat Hamilton in 2016, Nico had to sacrifice everything. He gave up personal hobbies, practiced prolonged meditation exercises, even lost weight to the maximum to save every gram on the car. When the final finish line passed, Nico realized he was completely exhausted. He understood if he continued, he could never repeat that high concentration again without hurting his own soul and family. Where is Nico Rosberg hiding now? Although he still appears as a YouTuber or TV commentator. That is just the surface shell. The driver Nico ego truly disappeared and was replaced by a venture investor in green technology and a devoted father in Monaco. Nico's disappearance is hiding from the cycle of obsession. He no longer wakes up at 4 a.m. to analyze wind data, no longer lives in fear of being slower than opponents by a millisecond. He hides in the life of a socially conscious businessman, where he invests in Formula E and autonomous vehicle projects. He killed the image of a track warrior to birth a freer version, where human value isn't measured by the fastest lap. Nico's seclusion carries the meaning of preserving mental health, a topic often considered weak in the masculine and thorny F1 world. Nico bravely admitted he didn't want to continue being a slave to others or his own expectations. His disappearance is a statement, I reached the peak, I proved myself, and now I want to live for myself. He chose to disappear from the track to be fully present at breakfast with his wife and 2 daughters, to see his children grow up not through a phone screen from some strange hotel on the other side of the globe. Many criticize Nico as a coward for not daring to defend the championship. But the truth is the complete opposite. It takes extraordinary courage to let go of tens of millions of dollars and the worship of millions right when it is at the highest level. Nico Rosberg's disappearance is the disappearance of someone who understood the law of sufficiency. He didn't want to become an old, decrepit champion trying to cling to old glory. He wanted the world to remember him as someone who left at the highest peak, someone who defeated the monster. Hamilton then smiled, turned his back, and stepped into the darkness of peace. Looking at Nico's current life, one sees deep satisfaction. He is still passionate about speed, but it is the speed of sustainable development and future technology. His hiding in the business and family world is how he maintains the perfection of his life. He no longer races against anyone else. He only races against his own limits in thinking. Nico Rosberg disappeared from roaring F1 cars to appear in meeting rooms of creative startups, where he uses his influence to change the world in a different way. The final chapter of the disappearances journey closes with Nico Rosberg as a thoughtful pause. His hiding reminds us that sometimes the bravest action isn't continuing to fight, but knowing when to stop. Nico chose to disappear from F1 to live a longer, deeper, and more practical life. He is hiding in the silence of the Principality of Monaco, in future projects, and in the warm embrace of a family home. Nico Rosberg's disappearance is proof that a human's true peak doesn't lie in the crown they wear on their head, but lies in the ability to give up that crown to find true freedom in the soul. F1 aura is the world's dream, but for these 5 legends, anonymity is the most prestigious trophy. They didn't disappear to run away, but to find the simple human part washed away by speed. After all, the greatest victory isn't standing on the glory podium, but daring to let it go to exchange for freedom for the soul. We are not responsible if you misinterpret or misapply this content. Please consider, verify, and receive selectively. Enjoyed it? Leave a like, comment, share, or subscribe. That is the fuel for us to tell more top-tier stories about other F1 superstars.